I want this every week. And I'll tell my husband you said what you said.
Okay, I'll teach him.
Good morning, everybody. I think we have a wonderful session this morning. I'll try to throw at you a bunch of stuff which we're going to continue and discuss with the great panelists. So I'll be very fast because I have a lot to say, and I hope you'll enjoy a little bit of the comics here. So what I want to talk about is how much we actually don't know, not necessarily do know. And what I'm claiming is that we are in the midst of a big war in the economic world, and we'll discuss some of the battles that we're seeing around us, which I believe you all agreed with me on. So we'll talk about the US versus China, Amazon against everybody, e-commerce, the tax wars, et cetera, et cetera. So, who is going to rule the world? Is it going to be the US or is it going to be, China? What we're seeing, and this is very appropriate to our conference today, is that technology has always been, but becomes more and more so, the weapon of the next generation. And everybody wants to own the most advanced technology, not necessarily military one. You all know about how the US has been trying to attack China in the soft spots, doing all kinds of things to create a problem for the Chinese giants to become bigger and bigger. Honestly, I think that some of the results of such attacks were actually boomeranging back to the US, because what has happened was that the big US companies, the giants, all of whom have huge businesses, obviously globally, some of it is China, has created a problem to those companies, and many of them actually suffered from a drop in their revenues. Guys, please, guys in the back, we can hear you. It's hard here. Okay, so I think it's obvious that we don't see one necessarily stronger than the other, and each side that does something to the other side actually pays with its own currency. Let's very quickly run to Amazon. We all know Amazon is big. Some of the things are more apparent than others. We know that they're obviously the number one in retail, online retail. They're selling almost $200 billion online. We already also know that they're giants in cloud businesses. They're very, very big. All the rest are trying to keep up with this pace. Obviously, the biggest fulfillment company in the world, and very recently entering the Israeli market. Many people waited for this for a long time. But something that we are less familiar with, and this is a little bit of under the radar, is how big they become in the media world. And they're actually only following the biggest, the Googles and the Facebooks of the world. I think this is less known, and one should think, what does that mean, provided that they also control a lot of other real businesses that are not necessarily media. What is next? Obviously, they already made a statement in food when they bought Whole Foods. Very surprisingly, by the way, having a Whole Foods, Whole Foods essentially is a physical store, so the acquisition was not trivial. Healthcare, they're doing all kinds of funky things, and they actually even starting to do things in pharma, which for me was surprising. What the Amazon phenomena created was very similar to what we're seeing in the Game of Thrones, is that allies that we would never think will collaborate with each other are starting to work together for the mere reason that you have a big enemy, you have to start collaborating. We'll see how that happens in our politics, still yet to be seen. But anyway, this is, you can see a slide, I'm not going to read it, about all kinds of new things that are happening in the industries just because of the fear of Amazon being stronger and stronger. Many people are asking themselves, is Amazon is becoming too big to fail? For two reasons. One is obviously they're very, very big, but the question is Amazon going to split? And reasons for splitting could be twofold. One, maybe the regulators are going to say, stop, this is too strong to be, to have one company controlling so many different industries. But the other question is, and analysts have been asking themselves, is Amazon going to be worth more money as some of the parts as opposed to one single company owning it all? And for those of you who are interested, you can read analyst reports. They think that some of their businesses will get higher multiples and be worth close to the total number as opposed to one solo company. Let's very, very briefly speak about retail. Retail has been thought as dead for a while. Stores in the United States are closing down. I just saw the other day further stores closing down, specifically also because the real estate prices are booming and people have moved to shop online. It's a big question, what is going to happen to the physical businesses? But I do want to challenge this because one of the things we're seeing in Israel actually, and I'm sure it's not only in Israel, is that we're seeing internet retailers coming to Israel to look for technologies that are supposed to be serving the physical stores they're going to open or they already opened. So we know the Amazon Go, which is sort of counterintuitive to let's do everything online and ship it to you, in a taxi or whatever, to how are we going to do physical, better, smarter, etc. They're all coming to Israel. Walmart CEO was here. Amazon is obviously here. And they're all meeting with startups doing smarter retail. I'm not going to mention names. I'm sure you all know the names. Let's move to another battle. The battle of what I call the battle of the taxes. And, we all understand, and I started this in the beginning of the presentation, that everybody understands that nations are strong if they have a strong technology foothold and they have enough technology companies starting and operating in their area. And so there has been a war around who is going to be the most relevant, the most sexy, and the cheapest in terms of taxes to those technology companies who need to decide where am I going to start my company. And what happened was that nations around the world started dropping the taxes almost to a point of what I call downward spiral, to a point where there are almost no taxes to technology companies. I think we're seeing a stop in this direction. The European Union countries started to speak amongst each other and say, guys, we're killing each other. Let's see how we're going to all put together some kind of a tax regime where we're not going to fight each other. We'll see how that evolves. I'm rushing because we're too late. The media world is playing big time, big wars, Disney, Amazon. Who is going to provide us the best on-demand services? Last week I saw that a person from Disney just resigned from Apple board because now they're fighting each other on subscription television. Big war, and for those of you who are bankers in the room, which probably makes it one, which is me, what we're seeing interesting is the amount of debt that those companies are taking to be able to do a lot of acquisitions, and the strongest and the fittest probably will survive. Let's very quickly talk about business models, which are a little bit changing their faces. One of the things that are very obvious that the stock market or analysts, they don't like hardware anymore. Hardware doesn't make enough money. Everybody wants to see services. So we invented at Lumitech a statement called hardware is a killer. And we saw it very clearly with Apple. One of the issues with Apple a few months ago not being able to withstand growth in their share price was because they have too much hardware and people want them see them doing software, and this is why they're launching TV and other things to have more recurring services business. So SaaS, we thought SaaS, we know what it is. We have a new word for it. We call it services survival. Multiples on those companies are a lot bigger, a lot higher than other things. Everybody is moving to SaaS, whether it's relevant to their business, maybe a little less relevant for their business, but recurring is the new gold. I'm rushing because we're too late. I'm just reminding you the cyber, and cyber obviously is very, very big in Israel. And thank God, even the theme of my presentation, I was lucky enough that the previous season, not the last one, the last episode was stolen, was hacked, so this served me well in the presentation. So who will win the Game of Thrones? We don't know. Thank you very much, and I invite all the panelists for a discussion. Thanks.